Just a pilot in his cockpit seated. Black leather on his ass, keep a hustler heated.
Okay, one of the first recommendations I received on removing these bezels and kind of getting to everything was to jack up the car. So that's what I'm going to start with. Okay, so the next step is going to be to remove this factory bezel. Let me show you what I'm removing here. There's two little tabs. One right here and one right there. So it's these two tabs that I'm removing. I got one out already. I'm trying to get the other one out. And you see those scratches I was talking about? Yeah, those are pretty deep scratches. That sucks. Maybe I need a front lip. So hopefully now I can get this open enough. You can see that. Gotta open enough where I can get my hand in there. There we go. Just needed to push a little bit harder than I was pushing. Okay. So this wasn't easy, but not hard. Okay. Much easier than the other side. So the key is going to be doing this is going to be to just push really hard from the inside as you undo the clips, and it'll come out a lot easier. If you think it's just going to pop out on its own, once you release the clips, it's not. And my hand is cut to shit from the corner of the bumper, but that's okay. All right, now that I got that out, I'm going to probably start working on the wiring. I'll just take a quick look to verify, but there's only really 3 connections in the whole thing, besides where the where it plugs into the lights. There's the battery, the ground, and then there's this. So obviously this is the one that turns it on and off through the relay. But the kit is all quality. I mean, it looks like OEM quality. Everything's sealed. I'm really impressed. I mean, for the price of this one. Okay, now we're going to work on the inside wiring. From what I understand, there's a little tab down here that you pry this out. Yep, so right there at the bottom there's a little tab. You can pry this up and out pretty easy. And then here there's a Phillips screw that you pull out. Oh, wow, that was scary. Okay. So you just want to reach, if you see this thing right here, that's a good part you reach, just put your hand on it and pull. It'll come off pretty smoothly. I mean, it was a little bit scary, but no big deal. So now I'm going to undo all these connectors from here so I can pull this out. So I'm going to take this inside and look at where I want to put the switch. Okay, so here's back of that panel. What I had originally planned on doing was putting a hole in this. From what I understand, some of the models, or maybe in Japan, they have this as an ashtray, which is kind of cool. But anyway, I was going to put a hole in this so I can put it like down here, put the switch, and that way I'm not cutting into anything. I can imagine this piece isn't very expensive, or I can just get an ashtray one. But I want to see if there's any of these switches that will actually work, like someone said there was. And I think I want to say those look those look like they might work, so I'm going to try that out. Looks like this one on this side is going to be a blank. See if we can pull that out. There's a little clip on this side. You just pull here, and then you can see there's a little tab right there that it hooks onto. So there we go. There's that. And yep, those look like the same to me. So whoever that was that told me that it did include the switch was right. So I'll have to amend. I'll put something in the comments of the unboxing video, because I bought switches to do this, and apparently I don't need them. I can just got one right here. I think this one like doesn't glow in a way that's consistent with the factory one, but I'm not worried about that. I prefer to use the OEM switch. This will plug into this here. And I'm just showing you guys this just to be really thorough. I know sometimes when I'm watching an install video, I like to have every little detail worked out, because sometimes you see people skip to like all of a sudden it's installed and it's like, okay, how did that happen? So this is where that wire that's coming in, that's part of the light harness, is going to plug into. And this is going to go to your add a fuse. And this is going to go to an ignition hot switch. And this is just going to go to a ground. So, and that will make the light work. So that's actually really simple. This is going to be cake to make work. So really, really glad about that. And I can actually just install this switch now, since I have everything I need. Looks OEM. It feels a little bit on the cheap side, but I much prefer this than to the switch solution I was looking at before, so I'm happy with that. So we got our button installed in here. Oh. So it's going to use this harness that it came with. And just one thing I wanted to note is this is the, I believe the button that would fit with the 2015 model, and I think only the 2015. So if you have a 2015, this is what you will use, and has the same connector, so it should be essentially just as easy. You're just gonna, you know, put whatever button fits in your particular car. So I know the 16 Plus has ones just like this that will use this button, and the rest will use, or the 15 only will use this. So okay, now I'm back here, gonna do some of the wiring. It does come with some zip ties, and I think to get the cleanest install, we're really going to need to remove this this splash shield thing. Okay, so I got enough clips out of the splash guard to where I can get to everything. Look, there's the turbo. Let me touch my turbo. Ooh, I touched it. All right. So now I'm going to start getting the wiring harness placed inside there. The harness adapter for the light, the one that's closest to the relay, is the one that goes on the passenger side. Now that's kind of counterintuitive on what you would expect, so just keep that in mind. If you actually have the kit in your hand, you'll understand why it needs to go that way. So now I'm just putting the harness through the two supports for the bottom skid plate. And this is kind of a long, nasty cord, so you're definitely going to need to zip tie it. It's not just going to stay put on its own. I wouldn't trust it to. Now this would be a little bit easier. You could probably do it neater if you were to unplug more things, but if you've seen any of my other videos, you know I try to keep the unplugging and complications to a minimum. So you see here, it's out. Looks like it's got enough slack. So I'm just gonna find some spots to zip tie it, because it's very close to the turbo, which is why it's good that it's really wrapped and insulated the way it is. But you don't want it to slip and move around and end up getting too close to the turbo and melting and popping fuses, and you just don't want to. You don't want to deal with all that. So just make sure you zip tie it all the way. Okay, so I got it all routed through. I'm going to show you how it is. I mean, not completely routed through, but getting there. So there's that for that light. You can see I put some zip ties here, one here. I zip tied it around the support beam. I used other zip ties that I had. I'm gonna cut all these little things down. So I zip tied the wires together here, and then just along the entire thing, I just made sure it was zip tied far and away from the turbo and along the firewall, or along the front bumper support, or front of the car, whatever it's called. So now I'm gonna come here, and I see like a nice, right here there's a ground that I'm gonna use. Okay, so I got the ground wire where it's situated just down here. So it's in my hand now. Right here, I'm gonna see if I can tuck it somewhere where so it doesn't fall back down. It's got a little tension on it. Okay, so I've got it tucked right there. I'm gonna loosen that little 10 millimeter that's down here. And I'm gonna use this as my ground. It's a factory ground spot. Okay, it's nice and tight, so we got our ground in. Okay, before I zip tie anything down there, I wanted to make sure I was gonna have enough slack to run the power wire to the battery. So you can see I have it feeding from right down under here. So the harness and everything is inside there. And the power wire that's gonna go to the battery is just coming in through down there. So I'm gonna try to just route it over here on the side so it's kind of invisible. There's nothing worse than like a red wire running through the engine bay on a car. That just makes it obvious that it's something aftermarket. So that part is done. So this is, since it runs through a relay, this wire is actually going to be the wire that supplies the power to the unit. So it has a relay, its own fuse, so it's a pretty safe setup. As you can see, I didn't run any wires inside the engine bay, so once I zip tie everything on the bottom and get that all tucked away and get all the splash guard put away. I know you saw some of my wiring down there, it looks like hell, and it does, but it's not visible from anywhere inside the car. So if you're the type of person who likes your wiring to look nice everywhere, then you're going to want to make sure you do it in a way that it's visually appealing everywhere. I'm not, so I just want it to look nice from the outside. I don't really care if there's a rat's nest underneath everything, so kind of just use your discretion, but keep in mind it's going to just take a lot more time to make everything really neat and nice. Not sure if you can see it really well, but the red wire runs down there into there, so let me see if I can do any better of a job at tucking it away. And yeah, I did. So I got it tucked on the, I'm not sure you can see it, but it's on the opposite side of the washer fluid tank. So it's pretty much not visible anywhere from inside the car except for that little spot up there. So that's perfect. This is a little long, so I'm going to bring this back in to a reasonable length, and then kind of get all these wires zip tied around to where they need to be. And that leaves us with the one remaining wire being the power wire that needs to go into the car. I'm going to finish zip tying this stuff by just showing you how I mounted this. And I'm going to affix this is kind of just dangling out, so I'm going to zip tie this to the relay as well. Okay, I'm just going to give you a quick pro tip. Don't leave these just laying around randomly on the ground, because you'll step on them and break them like I just did. So that's a quick pro tip. Put them away somewhere or set them out out of the way so you don't step on them. Okay, so I have all my wiring done. I still need to button everything down, but all the zip ties are done. I will show what I did under here. As far as the zip ties, you can see I put everything in a big wiring loom, and I kind of bundle it all together. And then I also zip tied that to the arm of the washer fluid tank. So now the only one left is this. And this is the power wire that's going to go inside the car. I shortened this one. Still a little bit on the long side, but I shortened it. And that's going to hook up to the fog light. So I have both fog lights wired in. This one, and then you saw that one. So now I just have to figure out how I'm going to get that wire into the car. And the reason why I'm not securing everything and kind of finalizing that area because I haven't brought it into the car yet, and one thing I've learned is don't start cleaning the stuff up and putting stuff away until you're more or less 100% done with the area, and we're not sure, like, who knows what will happen. So I know that wire runs, the little hole that I need to access runs along the hood release, so I'm kind of following that under here, and this is where my huge arm's going to come and bite me. Oh, because I can't get in there very far. So my only possibilities are to access it from the inside of the car and kind of fish a wire through there, or to remove that inner fender well. So I'm going to try to see if going through the car is a possibility. And that's simply a no. I can't reach in there. So maybe if you had a smaller hand, you'd be able to do it, or smaller arm. But I can't, because you have to reach like way deep into the car, and I just can't do it. So I'm gonna do it the hard way and remove the inner fender well. So let me see if I can get away with not removing the whole thing. Okay, you can kind of see it right there. But that's the one that needs to be pushed into the car, so I'm able to just do it with my finger. So I just heard it fall in on the interior. So now I'm going to grab that wire and see if I can fish it through over here. I got some nuggets that my wife just brought me. I'm starving. Yep, that's what's up. So just looking at the length of this, I don't think this is going to be enough to go through. So I'm going to go ahead and get this extension that it came with. Now this wire, I don't want to say current doesn't run through it, but this just triggers the relay. So as far as tapping into the fuse, if anyone's worried that you're going to draw too much current, all it does is activate the relay. So it just requires very minimal amount of amperage. So that's why it's thin, and that's why it really doesn't matter, because there's not a whole lot of power. The actual power that powers the lights comes from the battery through that relay. Okay, so I ran the wire through the back here. So kind of the same general area that I ran the power. So it comes up behind here, and you can see it's right here. So removing that panel here was actually kind of necessary. At least necessary if you don't remove the entire inner fender well, which I didn't. Alright, so I got this hooked up. So I took everything apart and slid the connectors in really deep, so I'm really confident with its hold. Just make sure it goes in all the way, and it would probably be a good idea to take some pliers and just crimp it down a little bit just to make sure everything stays secure. But it's not like this is going to have any pressure on it, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But it's really just a matter of making sure it stays together enough to do the install. So I'm bringing this wire down near the inner fender well where I can bring it into the car. So I'm going to go ahead and feed this wire into the car and then look to grab it in the car. Okay, try not to mind my super messy car. or dirty car. This was just chilling right here, so it will just, I just pushed it in with my hands. It goes in the car like that. I just pushed it through. I like that actually. I just pushed it through and it fell out over here, so no big deal. And I'm gonna try to show you where that hole is. And looks like I got lucky and the wire is just actually right here. So I fed as much of it into the car as I could, just to hope that I was going to be able to reach it easily, and it's like I hit the jackpot. Because sometimes if you've done this kind of wiring stuff before, it can snag, it can go behind something that you can't reach it and you're restarting. But in this case I got lucky and I easily got the wire. So I got my power wire in the car. I'm gonna pull the slack out of it. All right, so there's that. I think everything's more or less hooked up. So what I'm gonna do now, and how you ultimately decide to do this is up to you, but I'm gonna work on the interior wiring first and get that all going so I can actually turn on the lights and verify they work. I'm just gonna hook them up at the end of this thing, just to make sure they work, just because if they don't, I don't want to have to pull everything apart. I think you've seen me do this before in other videos. I like to test things before I reassemble everything, just because I've been burned by that too many times. So I'm going to do the inside wiring now. Okay. So now I have my power wire, which theoretically, I'm just checking the wire to make sure it didn't get any cuts or anything in it. Theoretically, this wire will turn on the lights as soon as this wire receives power. It'll kick on the lights. So the next thing we have to figure out is which fuse to use. And so I have a test light. I have it hooked up to the little ground wire that's right here, or a bolt that I'm using for ground. So I'm just checking each fuse to see which one, the ignition's off, the power's off. The keys are in my pocket. So the light's off, the ignition off, everything. So the fuses that I'm finding right now are the fuses that are always hot, which isn't what I want. So there's one down here. That one didn't go on with the lights. One down here, didn't go on with the lights. Okay, so this looks like it, and it comes on with the running lights and then also with the headlights. Not with the brights though, but I actually don't think the brights work when the car's not on. So let me make sure that this is not going to go on with just ignition or anything like that. So nope, doesn't go on with ignition, does not go on with the brights. So the fuse that would go on with just the lights is this one right here. So that's the one third up from the bottom and second from the left. So one to the right from the left. So it's next to this yellow fuse. And this one seems to go on and off with, get the camera balanced. This one goes on and off with the lights. So this is the one that I want to use. But there's different ways to do this. So I know some people want to be able to turn on their fog lights when they're without their headlights on. That's not how I want it, but I'll go ahead and find a fuse that goes on with the ignition. So if you're going to do this, you can figure out which one will allow it to work with just the ignition on, so you can drive down the street without your headlights on and your fog lights on. So it looks like just this 10 amp that's below the 20, so all the way left, the second one up will do it. And okay, I just had to change the battery in the camera, so I'm not sure where I left off. So we were looking for a wire that's just switched, or a circuit that's just switched. the car. There's this 20 amp. So let's test that on this 20 amp. And that does appear to be switched. So if you want it to just go on with the headlights, you use this 10 amp here, which is starting from the bottom all the way left. 1, 2, 3, third up, and then one to the right of that. That's the one that goes on with just the lights. And this 20 amp to the left of it looks like it will go on with just the ignition. So we'll look at this and see what those actually go to. Okay, it looks like the 20 amp is 12 volt plug, so that sounds fine. And the 10 amp to the right that I'm going to use as a headlight says tail clearance, so I'm not really sure what that is. But it looks like it'll work just fine for the headlights. It goes on with the headlights, so tail clearance. No idea what that is. But it has something to do with the tail lights or the lights, whatever. It goes on with the headlights, and that's what I want. Alright, I got my add fuse here. And on the unboxing I showed you these. It was like $7 for a whole bunch of them, for 5 of them or something like that. So it has 2 little ports on it. One is where the factory fuse will go. I'm going to hook it up to the spot that's closest to the so it's going to go in like this. I'm going to put it to the second one closest to the fuse box, so the one on the left, looking at it from this orientation. Because I think that's the one that does this. And the only reason it matters is because the fuse that the kit comes with is a 15 amp and the factory one's a 10 amp. So, not that it really matters a whole bunch, but you just don't want to feed it more amperage than it's supposed to have. Because what the add fuse does is it adds a circuit in, but it leaves the existing circuit intact. So the existing circuit still won't exceed the 10 amps, which I'm not really sure how that's even possible, but because obviously if the circuit's flowing anything more than the 10 amps, then it would just blow since it's just one circuit, but somehow it works. I'm not going to question it. Alright, so I got that in. Let me see if the taillights work. Yep, they work now. So I just verified that it is the inner fuse that's the one that does it. And then I'm going to add the second fuse in that this kit came with, which is a 15 amp, which doesn't really matter the amperage because this is, again, this wire is just going to be turning on and off the lights. It doesn't actually, it just powers the relay, so it's not actually powering the lights themselves. It's just telling the relay to turn on, which draws the power from the battery. So there's the end that will go to the switch itself. So the parts that we need here are, yeah. So this is the one that's going to hook up to the wire that's coming into the car. This is going to go to ground, and this is going to go to our add fuse. So when the switch comes on the add fuse, it will complete this circuit here. So that it'll make this circuit complete, and then the ground wire will enable the light to go on. So if you don't like the color of the light or something like that, and you don't want the light on the switch to come on, which I'll show you when we're all done what it looks like. Some people were saying that it might not match the factory stuff very well. So anyway, if you don't like the color of it, just don't hook up the ground, and then you won't get any light on the switch. Okay, so I was getting ready to wire the switch, but before I do that, I want to just hook up the lights on the outside of this. Just because when we test the switch, I want to make sure I know if it works. Oh, and there's a right and a left. Oh, look at that, I got lucky. Just grabbed one at random and it was the right one. Okay, so those are hooked up. Very crudely, but they're hooked up. And I'm gonna wire the switch in now, and then that way I can test them.
We already gave in, I'm so alive, baby, I'm so alive.
So I'm going to just hook this up to the switch, and then I'm going to just test it and make sure it all works. This one here. So we got it all hooked up. All the wiring's done. So the switch is not powered right now. Let me turn on the headlights. And you can see the light lights up. And you'll see what people are talking about. God, that's annoying. Okay. The light lights up. It kind of doesn't match the rest of the lights, as you can see. Well, you know from your lights. They're red. The lights are red. This one is like yellow, amberish. So it doesn't really match, but whatever. So let's see if it works. And I see a little bit of light over there, so let's go check it out. All right, so we have light. There they are. You can see the, not super bright, but not bad. And I have some, I still have these aux beam headlights. One of the aux beams I still have. These guys here. These aux beams that I'll probably eventually be putting in there. But I want to kind of do a comparison of how they look before I go LED. So look at that tea light, looks good. All right, so there they are. They both work. And let's watch them go on and off with the headlights. Headlights are on, off, on, off, on, off. Full headlights. All right. There's the brights. So there we go. Everything works. So I'm just gonna have to, from here, it's just gonna be buttoning everything up, and of course I'll have to install the harness for the bezels. I'll have to install the bezels for the lights and mount everything down, and then install the splash guard. I mean, I still have a ton of stuff to do, but now it's for the most part it's just clean up, other than installing the bezels, which I don't think will be super hard, but I guess we'll find out. All right, nice clean install. All the wires are tucked away. Okay, so just to show what it all looks like. There's our fog light button. It's gonna go on only with the lights, so although it stays lit all the time, when you press it, the bottom light will go on. So it doesn't match at all. Like I said, you can remove that ground if you really don't like it. It's not that big of a deal to me, and with the way I have it set up, I can just leave it on all the time, which is probably what I'll do, and then it'll go on when I turn on the lights and go off when I turn off the lights, which is exactly how I want it. And that's what it looks like. Off, not bad at all. Thanks for whoever that was that informed me that the switch that it came with was the right switch for the 16-17, because that really helped. So I'm gonna do the rest of the install.
Hold up. How deep can we go?
So the next thing I'm going to do is mount the lights and install the bezels. So the couple things to note: it is labeled left and right, and it's labeled top, so you know the exact orientation it needs to go in. Now I'm not sure, this is the hard part, I'm not sure if these go in front or behind. both lights installed. That one and that one. Let's hope it's supposed to go on the outside of those clips, which I believe is right. So now I'm just gonna reinstall all the stuff underneath the car. I don't really need to show you all that. It's just a matter of putting clips in, minus the ones, of course, I stepped on and broke. And after that, we'll install the bezels and then we're done. See, there's little grooves right there. Yep, that's what it's supposed to do. It goes in there. That goes in there. Okay, so I think I showed you this is actually supposed to go in these two little slots here. Okay, so let me tell you my dilemma now. So looking at it, if these clips are on here and it mounts behind it, there's nothing for the screw to go into. I mean, that hole is as at least the diameter of the screw. So the only way this could possibly work is if the clip goes on this itself, which makes sense somewhat, but I just don't really feel like that's how it's supposed to work. It's like, I don't know. It's really the only way I'm going to get it on there. So I'm going to try that, and let's hope that gives me a decent result. Okay, so I did it that way. I put the clips behind around the light itself, and then the screws into the front. It actually works just fine. So I'm going to try to put the bezel on, and let's hope that it works right. Wow. This took a while to do. I'm gonna go do the other side.
Just a pilot in his cockpit seated. Black leather on his ass, keep a hustler heated. Weed is engaged in the pavement. Rubber escorts like I'm seeking arrangement. Push the gas, escalate the gauges, escalate hits on the cam.